Panic attack, it's like a full body experience. It would start in his chest with like deep chest pain, almost like a heart attack, and it would move like all the way down to his feet and all the way up to his eyes. I could see it in his eyes when he was having a panic attack. It's like his eyes were full of fear. And he started having them, and at first they weren't as bad, just more surprising, like what's going on. And they continued like 3 or 4 times a week. He would have these debilitating panic attacks, usually at night when he was trying to fall asleep. And they would keep him up, and it was super frustrating, and there was nothing I could do to help. He would pace around the bedroom. He'd curl up in the fetal position on the floor, shaking, crying, praying, like anything to get his body to snap out of it. So those kept happening, and the whole time we thought it was his thyroid. He had had issues with his thyroid before, and if you Google hyperthyroid, he met like all the criteria for hyperthyroid. So we did some thorough testing on his thyroid, and it turned out that it wasn't his thyroid, and the panic attacks, instead of getting better, kept getting worse. I just told her, my husband died by suicide, I'm a widow. And she, like, without skipping a beat, looked at me and said, "That is so selfish." And I was kind of taken aback, and I had a friend sitting next to me, and she was like, I could tell, like, ready to pounce, this lady, like, she was shocked that she was saying it too. And I looked her straight in the eye, and I said, "It was not a choice, and it was not selfish, and he was sick, and it was ultimately the illness that took his life." And I will stand by that until I get to see him again when I say this, but I will say that I think it would be ignorant to think we could simply pray someone's mental illness away. Mental illness is not a byproduct of not being spiritual enough or spending enough time with God. We have to do a better job of that, of loving on people that are suffering. It's a real illness. Yeah, so good. Another thing that I want to say is that we need to become better learners instead of critics. We jump to criticism so quickly, and instead we need to seek to understand. There's 4 little words that my mother-in-law shared with our church a few months ago, and the words are, "I have no idea." I have no idea. These 4 words have the power to change the way we approach people. They have the power to change us and stop us from saying something critical of others. So the next time we're headed towards criticism, we can change our heart when we stop and say, "I have no idea about their story or their history. I have no idea what burdens they're carrying. I have no idea what it's like to live with what they're living with. I have no idea what's going on inside their mind. I have no idea." That's the truth. We have no idea what it's like to walk in anyone else's shoes but our own. So we can all do better at that. I wanted to say something quickly about pastors specifically, and that is pastors are people too. Pastors aren't superhuman, they're human. They're not invincible. We're all just broken vessels giving it our best shot to be a light in a really dark and desperate world. The best thing you can do to support the mental health of your pastors is to pray for your pastors. From my experience as a lead pastor's wife, I know how hard and lonely it can be at the top. Lead pastors these days are under so much pressure to perform. It's easy to see the lead pastor in the position that they hold and think they don't need prayer. But the truth is that they do. Leading a church is a really heavy burden to carry, one that is very costly. So we can pray for them as a staff. You can create a staff culture that's unified, and we can encourage our pastors to also take care of their mental health. The key to being a bright light for anybody, no matter what your vocation is to be intentional about our mental health. We have to do a better job at caring for ourselves so that we can keep caring for others.